This is Dan Schneider, and on this edition of the Dan Schneider video interview, I will be talking to Sarah about their up or just released EP, Kindred. I will be talking about, and that will be coming up in just a moment. So, Sarah and Kate, you are collectively calling yourselves Kindred, and you also have done solo music together. So, for our viewers, let me just give both of you 2 or 3 minutes to just tell people about yourself and how you got together. So, maybe Kate, if you want to start off telling who you are, who some of your influences are, and then Sarah, you can go next. So, Kate.
Yeah, so my name's Kate Langner. I am originally from Houston, Texas, and I've been playing music for as long as I can remember. Um, I remember singing about when I was about 3 or 5, and then got my first guitar when I was 15, picked it up, picked it back down, and but I've always been influenced by originality. So some of my favorite singers and songwriters are Sleeping at Last and Bon Iver and Dawes. Something just with depth and reason behind it. I've always really been encouraged by those kind of songwriters and even musical wise, things that don't fit any boxes. And so I was doing my own solo songs as mainly acoustic and singing. And then I met Sarah through her boyfriend, and he kind of just, of course, knew Sarah and her talents, and then heard me at one of my shows and was saying that we should do a collaboration together and how he thought it could really work. And so I was completely open to that, and it did so happen to work really well, and we were really amazed by how easy and almost effortless it was to sit down and make music together, and how much on the same page we were with music and the way that we wanted to see it expressed and told to others. And so yeah, it's kind of been a short road, but it's been incredible and a great learning experience together.
And I should state that I'm talking to both of you in Lubbock, Texas. I'm down near Austin, Texas. So how did you make it from Houston up to Lubbock area? That's quite a distance.
It is. It actually went a bit further than that. So I moved to Australia when I was 19 and did music there and studied there for about 3.5 years. And then through a mutual friend, just decided to come to Lubbock because I'm kind of a bit of a free spirit. So
Now,
why not?
when you say studied, you did you study music at some musical academy or whatnot?
Yeah, there was one with UWA, and then which is University of Western Australia, but some others was through some other organizations.
Okay, and how about you, Sarah? What's your story?
Well, my dad went to Juilliard and Eastman, as well as my grandfather, my grandmother, and my great grandmother. My mom went to music school at U of M, so they completely surrounded me with classical music when I was younger. I started learning the piano when I was 3. I picked up the cello when I was 5. It was the cutest cello you will ever see. And then I just practiced 5 6 hours a day growing up, and then I went to college when I was 16 on a music scholarship to Texas Tech, and then I graduated at 20, and I just got accepted to the Berkeley School of Music in Spain. So
Oh,
so
I saw that. So is that a prestigious I guess music academy?
um yes, in the contemporary world it's not prestigious for classical music, it's more with jazz and pop. So I kind of wanted to switch directions.
Um, Now, I know that Kate has more of what you would call sort of like I was saying, more of a folky kind of sound, folk music, going back to the '60s or the '90s, whereas you do more, uh, I guess you'd call it classic, maybe classical fusion. If there's, I know there's jazz fusion, maybe it's classical fusion. Um, uh, where where did you get that impulse to do? You mentioned U of M. Is that the University of Michigan or Minnesota?
Michigan, yeah, my
Michigan.
mom there.
So you came from a musical family. Did you have a lot of different types of music, or were you just drawn more to classical rather than rock and roll?
Um, I grew up with a lot of gospel because I played in the church gospel thing choir. So I was exposed to a lot of gospel. It was just jazz and classical really when I was growing up. And then when I was 14 or 15, I started getting into some other genres like country and a little bit of rock, like classic rock.
Unlike Kate, were you a native Lubbockian? Lubbocken?
No, 2 hours down the road. I'm from Odessa, Midland,
Oh, okay.
gorgeous city full of dirt and, oil rigs.
I've only been as far out in Texas to San Angelo, although my wife and I did go to Carlsbad a few years ago, at Carlsbad in New Mexico. Um, so we know now how you got started. Let's talk just a little bit about this EP that you did together. Now, Sarah, I know you released an EP called Soliloquy earlier this year, and I'm a CD old records kind of person, but that's on all the iTunes and all the places where people could download it. I guess if they type in Sarah Joy, you can probably find all the stuff. I'll have some listings underneath the video for people to click on. But how did you guys actually meet then? Either one of you can take that. I mean, did you meet? I think Kate had mentioned that your Sarah's boyfriend got you together, but did you just go to like a local bar or a local cafe and see Kate playing and said, "Oh, I gotta, you know, do something with her"?
Well, actually, during I think it was my sophomore year in college, my boyfriend showed me her music video that Austin Weidman had recorded. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, wow, she's really creative. And I think the thing I was drawn most to was her lyrics and how down to earth they are and very relatable. Um, and just her whole personality and demeanor was very warm and open. So I was drawn to that and I wanted to work with her.
Had you ever done duets before or worked with someone that had a style outside your own?
No, no, this is
And
the first time.
And how about you, Kate? When Sarah suggested working together, did you ever like singing professionally with any?
Professionally, not so much, but I've done a few collaborations, but not to this extent or going out of any comfort zones like this.
So ultimately, with the CD, I mean, you're going to keep your solo careers. Do you have? Is it the kind of thing that if, let's say, 10 or 20 years from now, if one or both of you has some measure of success financially or whatnot, do you envision that you would always sort of come back and do some little projects together? Uh, and Kate, do you envision yourself more or less going out doing, I don't know what was it, like Sarah McLachlan back in the 90s had those kinds of concert tours with women, whereas Sarah, you seem to be more leaning towards, I don't know if the school prepares you for being in a symphony. I mean, what does what does the future hold? Do you think yeah, that you'd like to do in the future?
Okay. I definitely want music to be a part of my life forever, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm in the career world or music will always be my passion. So, um, I think it's every little girl's dream to grow up and be this famous musician, but I just, I think fame is just a bonus to music, honestly. If it gets to that, then that's great, but I'm really content and fulfilled just writing and playing. And if that's what Sarah, then that's even better. But we've contemplated the idea of, because we know we're probably going to be long distance friendship and bandmates in probably the near future. So we've definitely been back together and we can playing and releasing more songs.
Well, let's segments. We'll watch a video that Kate has of her singing a song "Wonderful Downfall," and I don't know the term. You have a very kind of sort of ethereal voice, and I'll talk a bit more about that when you do a duet. Um, is, would that be considered a falsetto voice, or what are you? That you're not a soprano. What an alto are you? Uh,
I'd say I'm an alto.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm somewhere in between.
and Sarah, you have sort of a richer, more I guess, smoother voice? What are you considered singing wise?
Oh, I don't know technically.
You're
Probably an
an
alto.
alto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's end this segment, and when we get back, we'll talk a little bit about the music business and its pitfalls and whatnot. But let's listen to this song from Kate Langner, and we'll be back in a moment.
There's so much depth within your voice. Every whisper cuts to my core. Every ounce of this life needs it more. There's so much beauty within your words, hidden and entangled from every line that comes from your mouth and straight into my heart. And now, and now, and now, you want it all, you can have it. I'm giving up. What's mine is yours now. Such a wonderful downfall to finding you. Downfall to finding you. Downfall to finding you. Downfall to finding you. No, it's the little things that mean the most to me, like knowing you always been there for me. This life is so much sweeter alongside you. You want it all, you can have it. I'm giving up. What's mine is yours now. Such a wonderful downfall to finding you. The simple truth is quite simple. I never knew I could have my hands full. I never once look back at you. Look back at you. Oh, oh. You. Oh, oh. Look back at you. Oh, oh. Look back at you.
Kate Langner, Sarah Joy. We just watched and listened to a video of hers called "Wonderful Downfall." So, uh, just for people like me who are not professionals and don't really know about, the vocabulary of music, um, tell us a little bit about the song, how you came to write it, both musically and lyrically, Kate.
Yeah, okay, so Wonderful Downfall. I wrote that in a place where I just had a lot of questions about everything. And um, yeah, I think it's just coming to like a realization of something big in your life. I think that's I was just starting to realize a lot of things for the first time, and kind of that was the overflow of my heart in that moment. So that was where that song happened. And I never really like to make things too technical when it comes to song composing of songs. So that's why the guitar riff and things like that aren't too technical, because in some ways for me, it can take a heart with the song. For me, and that song, that's kind of the place where my heart was in that moment. And yeah, I didn't want to take away that. I'm making it too complicated.
So let's talk a little bit about both of you. You're young women. I assume you're probably in your early to mid 20s at the latest. Who I know when I think of the music business, when I go back to my youth, I just turned 50. I'm talking about the 1970s. There were a lot of big rock groups and rock concerts and whatnot. Then along came like the 1990s, and that might even still be a little early for you. But there was a woman named Ani DeFranco. I'm assuming you've heard of her. So
Yes.
she did she started her own label and whatnot. Is when you think about like a career arc or something, do you think that that's something more viable, or do you think that in this day and age with like the SoundCloud and iTunes and this that, do you think that there's a way for you to get out to the public without having, say, BMG or Elektra or any of these big companies behind you?
Yes, the only problem is that because of YouTube and SoundCloud and Facebook and all of these platforms for people, the music industry has become so almost glutted
Yeah.
with indie musicians that you have got to be so unique and very, very skilled to
Mhm.
even think that you could make it
Mhm.
without a label.
Yeah, I know. So I mean, for those people even younger than you, 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, young girls who are maybe in a decade, some things might change. Do you think that? Uh, well, I mean, how did you like you go in and you record your CDs? You know, you can have a home studio. How do you go about like? Do you actually have you ever actually even press CDs, or is it just now all downloadable music?
Right now, it's all downloadable. CDs are
Mhm.
very expensive to make for me,
Yeah,
as a broke single college student.
yeah. So, what if, let's say, you put out this album, so someone downloads it? How much, let's say, well, do they download the whole album, or is it on a per song basis? And how much do you get? Like 10 cents per song out of a dollar if it costs?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I even know it's even less than that on Spotify.
Yeah,
It's like
Spotify, you do not make
maybe
much.
1 cent per play or something like that.
Yeah, I know about a decade ago, and you were probably both, in junior high or earlier. You know, when American Idol was a big thing,
Mhm.
you had young talent come on, but that was all this mass market stuff. I can't, there were maybe a few people that I can remember because my wife and I watched the first 8 or 9 seasons, and then it just got kind of boring. But um, there was people who tried to do something different. Uh, the mass appeal, the trying to get mass appeal seemed to always water things down. Do you either of you worry about that, or do you just want to make your music, and if money, and if you break out and something you hit 30 or 35 and you're not making thing like someone like Sarah, if you with your classical background, if if you could, if let's say the Dallas Symphony said, well, you could have the first chair and cello, I don't know if there's such a thing, for the Dallas Symphony, does that represent something that, well, I'm going to take that because I'm going to get a paycheck every week or monthly or whatever they do, rather than do that? What?
Um, I mean, that's always a possibility. I think there's a balance between being relevant and being, having integrity with your art.
Mhm.
You have, people on extreme sides of the spectrum. There are the, hipsters who are like, oh, my art is good and I really don't care if anyone hears it. There's a couple people here and there. And then, you have the sellouts who create really just poor quality art, but who make a lot of money. So I think there's a balance, between keeping your integrity and reaching out to the masses.
This segment, between this and the next segment, let's listen to a Sarah Parton song called Jolene, and when we get back, we will talk about the concept of the duet, how the songs are structured, and that kind of thing, and we'll do that in just a moment.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair and ivory skin and eyes of emerald green. Your smile is like the breath of spring, your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot compare with you, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. I can easily understand how you could easily take my man, but you don't know what it means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. And you could have your choice of man, but I could never love again. He's the only one for me, oh Jolene. And I could have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you. Whatever you decide to do, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 oh, please don't take him just because you can. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
And I am back with Kate Langner and Sarah Joy, and we just saw and heard a video of a well-known country song. I think it's old, from Jolene, and it's probably not her most. It's basically a woman who's afraid of losing her man to, I guess, a younger, more beautiful woman, and yet it, as I recall, and having watched YouTube clips and seen it when I was a boy, it's always been sung in one person. And so let me just ask, why did you choose to do a song in one person, and yet it's got two voices? Either of you want to jump in?
I think it was more intuitive, just having a different texture there. And wow, I wish I could word this better.
Well, let me. Since I'm the outsider, as someone listening, to me, what aside from the fact that it's two good voices, you have, to me, Kate's sort of singing the lead version of the voice of the woman, and she's got this sort of higher, more ethereal, more traditionally feminine voice, and so it sounds like the main voice of the woman singing, to someone in real life. Then when your little section or refrain, whatever you would call it, comes in, since you have this sort of lower, smoother voice, it's almost like you're the interior of the woman's mind, singing back with her. So it gives a double A. Whereas in Dolly's original version, hers is also a faster, more sped up version, as I recall. It's almost not, I wouldn't say carefree, but it's sort of like, oh, Jolene, 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 and it, there isn't that pathos. Yet
Yeah.
yet even by just having two voices, even if they weren't particularly good voices, which yours two are, it gives an internal struggle to the character. What I would say, you said you intuit exterior, the lead voice does have that more plaintive quality, whereas your voice seems more assured inside. So, what do I have a right interpretation?
Yes.
No, that's really good.
It is.
And we like to think kind of outside of the box and unique. So slowing it down was an intentional thing and make it more haunting and eerie. Um, Another reason that we always struggle with why we can't sing more together is because she can't play cello and sing at the same time.
I'm learning, but it's very, very, very difficult.
It's an incredible skill anyway, but
Well, Sarah, are you a cello player? Is that your main instrument then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now go ahead, Kate.
so that was kind of the composing component of it. So we wanted it more slowed down so you can hear the actual words as well. Because I think Dolly sings it is very upbeat and perky and
Yeah.
carefree, but it's such a deep and sad song. I remember us starting to play it and really reading the lyrics and letting it hit us. Like, this is so sad. And so I
Well,
think
it's sad not just because thinks she's going to lose her man, but it's sad that she feels that she has to think that
Yes,
she's not secure.
exactly.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know when I heard your voice, I've heard Jolene. My wife is a Dolly Parton fan. My wife has much wider and she would say better, and she's probably right, better musical taste than me. But I will tell you, I just turned 50 this year, and when I first heard that, the first two or three times when I played that song, your version, I actually got a little weepy, teary thinking about that woman, and I never did that with Dolly's version, and I'm sure there've probably been other people who've covered it, but uh, and so that and you get a sense of that woman just really being desperate. And I think I read that Dolly wrote it because her husband was flirting with a bank teller or something. I don't know what the original story was, but um, anyway, so when Kate, you were saying that the difficulty with Sarah being able to sing and play a cello, though, and you're playing the guitar. Do you play just the guitar, or what other instruments do you play?
I play the guitar and like every other indie folk artist, a ukulele
A ukulele?
and a tambourine. I dabble in a lot of percussions.
Uh,
So, yeah.
She's actually quite good at that, the
Percussion
percussion.
side.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and see the thing, I work in a retail store and we hear the music all the time, and uh, this morning when I was working, I heard a version. I'm sure you've heard of Joni Mitchell if you haven't heard her songs, but one of her most famous songs is "Big Yellow Taxi," and I heard this version that sounded to me like a '90s, 2000s version. It turned out when I looked it up, it was from Counting Crows with Vanessa Carlton, who might be the only person who you vaguely remind me of, Sarah, from her first couple of CDs. But they did a version of it that was sort of again more upbeat and poppy, and it seemed like if you're going to cover a song, especially a famous song like Big Yellow Taxi or Jolene, you have to either, if it's a crappy song to begin with, you're going to make it better, or if it's a song that is a well-known and good song, put such a different spin on it that it's your own. And this Counting Crows version was just so watered down and so nothing. I was just listening an hour or so ago to the Joni version, and so do you have that in mind, that there are some songs that you might love, but you say, well, it's so good, why would I bother to do that?
Yes.
What song would if you had your choice, either one of you, that you could cover a song, or you could have been the person to have done that song first, which one would it for either of you? Give me, well, for either of you.
So, hold on, a song that I
Yeah,
feel.
if let's say you could have sung, if you were a Joni Mitchell fan and you could have sung Big Yellow Taxi first, or something like that, what any artist,
Okay, mine of mine.
Well,
My favorite artist, probably of all time, is Imogen Heap.
mm.
She is amazing and so creative. Really, any of her songs, specifically though, The Listening Chair,
Okay.
is brilliant.
And how about you, Kate?
Um, okay, I have to be so cliche right now. I love Beyonce.
Beyonce. I would have thought you would be Jewel or Alanis Morissette or one of those 90s.
Beyonce, they'll kick you out if you don't.
Okay.
I really love the song Halo, and if I had her vocal range, I would belt it out with everything I had. But lyrical wise, I think that's such a beautiful song too, and it's also what just came to my mind.
Okay, well, let's end this segment, and then when we get back, we will talk a bit about Sarah's song that we're going to see. And we're going to see a song just by Sarah Joy alone called My Soul Knows Well. And I want to talk a little bit about arrangement, because one of the things that, and just to let people know, I run a website, Cosmoetica. I've had it for 15 years, probably when these two girls were in diapers. I started it. But there was a fan who, a young man named Neil Hester, who had been a fan of my website for about 10 years. And I guess you went to school with Neil, Sarah?
Yes.
And so about a year or two ago, there was a song I think that he had forwarded around from you, and then a few months back he forwarded around another song, and then you had read a poem that I put online, and then I found. Well, my wife must have found the Miley Cyrus cover that you did, but I'm not going to show that because of copyright issues. But anyway, we'll get back and we'll listen to Sarah's song "My Soul Knows Well," and when we get back, we'll talk a little bit about that.
If I take the wings of the dawn, if I make my bed in the flames, you are there and you are strong, and I can't escape. I'm enclosed behind him before, and even before there's a word on my tongue, it's no to you. Whenever I sit, whenever I rise, your eyes, they follow my ways, my days are no to you. I can't break from your touch, my heart is open wide. Search in my love. If I say the brightness soon will fade, afraid the day will soon be night, to you they're the same. Night and light are alike. Where I am, there your hand will be, faithfully, and I will tell how skillfully you lead me. My soul knows well. I'm enclosed behind him before, and even before there's a word on my tongue, it's no to you. Whenever I sit, whenever I rise, your eyes, they follow my ways, my days are no to you. I can't break from your touch, my heart is open wide. Searching
they follow my ways, my days are known to you. I can't break from your touch. My heart is open wide. I can't break from your touch. My heart is open wide. Search it, my love.
Back with Sarah and Kate Langner, and we just watched this time a Sarah solo video called My Soul Knows Well. And this is one of those songs that I really love too because it's so rich. And unlike a lot of pop songs that always have the steady drum beat, most of the videos that I've seen of you on your channel, Sarah, which I will link to below uh, this video, you use mostly classical instruments and you arrange things so well. And so let's talk a little bit about My Soul Knows Well. Um, what is that song about? How did you come about it? And let's talk about the music first, and then how you make a video. Because in Sarah's video, not Sarah's, Kate's video, she's basically just sitting, looks like on a bed or a couch and playing her guitar, whereas you actually went out and shot a video. So let's do it in two parts. Let's talk about the song first, how you wrote it, and how you decided to arrange it.
Well, the song's lyrics are based on a psalm, and very meaningful to me. The music, I used a composition technique, and it's called basically a canon, if you want to call it, or I guess you could call it a round too. So you hear in the intro, the cello has this one line, and then the cello comes in with the same line, but they um, and in terms of the 2/3 to 1/3 ratio, some of the most beautiful compositions, they start out at a point where you have room to build. So you state your theme, your main idea, and then slowly you add, more instruments or raise the dynamics or increase tempo, change up the rhythm, whatever it takes to create, 2/3 of the way through this gorgeous climax where this is, the moment you've been waiting for throughout the whole song. And then the rest of the way, it's coming down and it's more of just a, here we are, we made it, and it's almost like a rejoicing.
And I should say that this goes back to a conversation online, I think it was on Facebook, that we had where you explained this to me, because I'm a writer, and there's an old saying that in writing you never give the climax of the story or the tale or the novel less than 90% of the way through, or people will lose interest in this story. So that's where that comes from. I know when there's sort of like a rising swell, and the video starts off sort of blackish, and it's almost like something's being lifted up, or something. So the song originated from the psalm. How did you decide? How do you decide? Say, well, I'm going to use a cello. I'm going to use this. What instrument or whatnot? How do you make a decision like that? Does that come sort of organically with the lyrics, or did you come with the lyrics with the psalm and say, here's the music I'm going to add to it?
I came up with the lyrics first, and then you think about, well, what is the overall message that I'm trying to portray, and it's one of celebration and of comfort and of finding your identity and your wholeness in God. And so that's one of the reasons why I chose to use the cello, but I wanted it to be in a higher register. So of course the cello is a somber instrument, so it's obviously dealing with a serious subject, but in the higher register it's more lively and upbeat, and so it fits the inner rejoicing, basically.
And how about the actual video? Because as I mentioned, unlike Kate's video, which oh, and even the Jolene one, where basically you guys are just sitting and playing in a room. You actually did what looks like a video. There's you in the desert. There's you on some stage. It looks like a philharmonic stage or something. Um, how long did it take to shoot the video? Did you yourself come up with the idea, or did you have a film director, a video director that telling you, well, we if we did this here and did that, how did you come up with that?
This is actually a pretty cool story. Well, I came up with the idea, and that was the three chairs. I thought that was kind of neat that they were each associated with a different instrument or voice. But my brother, my little brother, who is 17 years old, and he's a junior in college. He's a just brilliant person. He filmed that entire thing. He's going into film school.
Well,
And
give him a plug. Give him his name. What's his name?
Jonathan Hostop.
Okay.
hmm Yeah, he's amazing. So he filmed that when he was 15, just with his little camera, and he told me what to do, how to move, where to sit.
So that video is 2 years old. That song's over 2 years old.
Yes, but I just recently released it.
Okay.
hmm
Um, so let me ask you too about another a cover song that you had done, and I can't show this here, and I just to let people know they'll be probably watching this video on either a second YouTube channel that I created or on Vimeo because I had some issues with some public domain public domain film that some company in Germany did not like me using, even though it was in the public domain. So that's why I've got permission from both Sarah and Kate to use their videos, but I don't have the permission to use a video that Sarah had done a cover of another song called what is it, Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus, in which this is a song that I guess I might have heard a handful of times before I encountered Sarah's work, and my wife always makes fun of Miley Cyrus. She hates it, and it's a stupid video where she's swinging on a wrecking ball, knocking down walls, and it's in the video. I will link to the Miley video below that people can watch it on YouTube and give Sarah some money. But you took a song that is just sort of like pop fluff, and you in the video there's like nine little boxes. It's like a tic-tac-toe board, and you're playing violin, you're playing cello, and you're playing a couple of other instruments, and you're singing three or four versions. This must have been 10 times as complex as the video for My Soul Knows Well to shoot, because did you just play each of the nine sections, the instruments, at a different take, I'm assuming, and then cobble them together? I mean, so let me ask you about the arranging. How did you make a song that's just pop fluff into really, I think, a terrific song, and yet then we'll talk about the video. So let's talk about the song. How did you make that a good song?
Well, personally, I think that basically anything can be turned into good art. Um, but the song to begin with, it wasn't terrible. Mostly, I was just so annoyed she needed to
Uh-huh.
be naked in order to, draw attention to herself, even though she could have just let the art speak and she just needed to get her personality out of the way. Anyways, I was just so annoyed by that. I really wanted to restore dignity to that song. So, yeah.
And the video, talk about shooting that. I mean, was this 10 times as more, or at least 9 times more complex than the My Soul Knows Well video?
Um, Honestly, it's hard to say because we made it so much later. We had already had so much experience. My Soul Knows Well took longer and was more difficult because it was all new. But by this time, we had a feel for it. So, yeah.
And by the way, where did you shoot that? Outside of Lubbock, the My Soul Knows Well? You're in a deserted road, it looks like.
It was outside of Odessa in oil territory. Yeah.
And I know it just occurred to me because I'm not going to be able to show. I'll only link to the Miley Cyrus cover. So I guess Dolly Parton's estate doesn't mind covers of their songs being on YouTube. Is
Honestly, I think legally none of this is correct.
okay. Okay, well, we won't go into that anymore.
Not quite sure.
But I guess one final question then, because I mentioned this in between the segments. You seem to have a great talent as an arranger. And I'll also ask Kate. Have you arranged songs too in a similar way, or do you feel yourself, Kate, as more of a straightforward, I've got these songs, I'm going to do my songs, or do you enjoy doing these cover songs? So either one of you.
I really like playing cover songs, but I like I like being creative with them and being making them unique, just like Sarah does as well, but maybe my own spin on it. So completely changing a cover song isn't foreign to me, but I also really like writing my own too. So there's a good balance.
Okay, well, let's end this segment, and when we get back, I'll give you both closing remarks. We'll talk about, maybe what you hope to do in the future, and we'll end the interview, and we'll do that in just a moment. All right, well, I'm going to end this interview with a last segment talking with Kate Langner and Sarah Joy. So we've talked a bit about who you are. We've talked about and seen some of the work that you've done solo and together. And let's talk a little bit about the future, and then I'll give you both closing remarks. We did talk a little bit about that what you hope to do. If you could chart your own career, say 5, 10, 20 years down the line, and everything that you wanted, what would that be? I mean, would it be, you know, what kind of success, what kind of artist, or 40? Yeah, Kate, if you want to go first.
Impact. And it doesn't have to be numbers or financial success with music. I just want to reach people through music. And yeah, I know that sounds really simple and cliche, but yeah, that's just where I'm at with music.
And how about you, Sarah?
Oh goodness, I want to do a lot. Well, my ideal would be to be signed by a record label at some point. And I, especially in the future, would love to be able to go on tour with, say, a string quartet and a jazz combo group. That would be amazing. But I think one of my biggest dreams would be to be able to travel to different countries and listen to their folk music and get recordings of these people playing their cultural music and be able to fuse it all together with my own style and just, expand my musical palette, and be able to compose like
Well,
that.
well, you just mentioned earlier in the interview that you had gotten accepted into a school over in Spain. How many years are you going to be there, and what, what are you expecting to learn or get from that?
Well, if I'm able to go, which hopefully I am, I am very excited to learn more jazz theory and contemporary marketing, how to package things, getting to collaborate with other people with different instruments. I think they have some good Spanish music influence things,
So,
classes.
so would you be taking? So this is a regular college, not just a music alone school. Then is that correct?
No, this is a music school,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's just specifically.
Okay. Well, let me give each of you a final remark, and we'll end this interview. Kate, is there anything you'd like to say to anyone listening, or if you have any gigs coming up in the next month or two, or something?
Um, yeah, I guess just thank you guys for listening to us and for listening to our music, and we hope that you can get something from it and it serves you well. And yeah, I just hope you can hear the heart behind it as well.
And again, that's the EP is Kindred, and that's for both Kate and Sarah. And Sarah's solo uh, release EP is Soliloquy that came out a few months ago. And Sarah, if you want to have a closing remark.
Just the same thing. Thank you for listening, and hope that you stay tuned for more YouTube videos.
And anyone who's listening to Sarah Joy and Kate Langner in this interview, uh, listen to more Dan Schneider video interviews, because I've had some scientists, I've had artists on, I've had some old artists. We discuss some shows where I'm going to be discussing art and history and archaeology. And next week, actually, I will have three people who've written for sports websites talking about the art of writing sports essays. So I go forward, backwards, young people, old people, dead people, live people. These two are live, hopefully. So I saw them on the Dan Schneider video into the EP. Find out any more information about them below this video in the list. So until next week, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Kate.
Thank you.